Good evening, everybody. My name's Joe, and
I'm Audrey.
I go to West Allis Central, and
I go to Hale.
I'm going to thank all of the candidates and the members of the community and the Youth Commission for all coming out tonight. So for tonight's forum, we will give each candidate an opening statement of 60 seconds, and then for each question, each candidate will have 60 seconds to provide a response. And then to conclude the forum tonight, each candidate will receive 60 seconds for closing statement. Your timer is going to be Justin right here. He's going to have little signs that say 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then done. And then once you're done, you're going to have a little bell. So when the bell goes off, there it goes. When the bell goes off, your time's finished and allotted for that question. So on that note, we should start opening statements, and we'll start going from my left to right.
Okay, thank you for having me. My name is Bill Ustruck, and I'm running for re-election. Thank you. As many of you, I was born and raised in this fine city of West Allis. I am a Nathan Hale graduate of 1993. My parents, my dad went to West Allis Central, and my mother went to West Allis Hale. My mother's family went to Hale. My dad's side went to Central. So I'm born, bred, raised, bleed West Allis. 3 years ago when I ran, I didn't know what I was getting into, and 3 years later I want to run again because I think we're making a difference and we're going in the right direction. Thank you.
All righty, you can go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jess Keys. I graduated Central, 1996 alumni. My oldest son graduated from Central 2016. He's a United States Marine. My youngest is currently going to be graduating from Central this year. He's planning on going to an apprenticeship for the Steamfitters Union after he graduates. Definitely could figure out, he could probably do just about anything. He is a very intelligent kid, so I'm kind of impressed with the career path that he's choosing. I've been married for 20 years. My husband is sitting in the audience too, so giving me that good support up here. I really would like to see policies updated, and I really do have a passion for the kids. I volunteered in the district pretty much my kids' entire school career. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Sikich. I am running for a third term on the board. In 2012, when Mr. Satiros resigned, I was chosen to take his last 6 months in office over a candidacy pool of 12 other people. The board chose me. Then I ran again in 2016 and 2013, and then ran again in 2016, and now again in 2019. I'm 66 years old, and of those 66 years, 55 years of them have been in education, either as a student, a teacher, or a member of the school board. I'm a Nathan Hale graduate. My wife is a Nathan Hale graduate. My wife and I are both retired West Allis teachers, still live in the city. I was born here, raised here, be buried somewhere here. And my son is a graduate of Nathan Hale, and my daughter graduated from West Allis Central. So we have had both sides of school in our household.
Hi, I'm Heather Justum. I am also running for re-election this year. I am married, my husband Jay, for almost 23 years. We have 2 children, Catherine, who is currently in college to become a health and physical education teacher, and Cora, who is going to be an exceptional education teacher. So I'm very proud of them that they're choosing to go into that profession so they can hopefully come back and give back to this community as I chose to do. I was born and raised here. My children were actually the 5th generation to graduate from West Allis schools, so we're not going anywhere. We're going to be around for a long, long time. I also was involved in a lot of organizations here in the district. I was PTA, Booster Club, volunteered with music and theater departments. People say I'm a professional volunteer. I don't know why. I can't stop. I love helping, and I love being with the kids. One of the things I'd really like to see us handle this year and do is finish getting our policies updated and continue Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you all for your opening statements, and on that, we will start with the questions.
So, Bill, do you think overcrowding is an issue throughout WAWM? And if so, what are your plans to correct classroom overcrowding?
Well, that's a very good question, thank you. Classroom overcrowding, I think actually we're gonna be going in the other direction. Enrollment is declining, and it's a national trend. It's not something that's on the upswing. People are choosing to have children later, and people are choosing to not have children at all. So I, at this moment, with our buildings and what we have going on right now, I see it going the other way.
I actually looked at our third Friday counts for this school year, and for Central, they had 1027 for students, and Nathan Hale had about 1358. According to kind of how our boundaries and borders situation went, by this year, it should have kind of evened out. So I'm a little concerned on that. So the overcrowding with Hale definitely, I feel, should be looked at. The overcrowding in the classroom should definitely step back and take a look at and make sure that everybody is getting the quality education that they need without having to worry about disciplinary problems in the classroom because of overcrowding or just situations where the teacher's not able to reach all of the students. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would agree with Mr. Ustruck that I don't think that's going to be a huge issue down the road because of the declining enrollment. And we definitely have been cutting back on open enrollment. And our person that's in charge of our FTEs, the full-time employees at each building and the classroom size, Mr. Bowling, does a great job with getting out into the buildings, seeing exactly how much classroom space is available, and also uses, is it going to be fifth graders in there, kindergarten, or, what size body is going to be in that room, because it can definitely affect how the class size goes to the dynamics of the room. Bill said we are looking at a trend of declining enrollment for the next 3 to 5 years, so do not think Friday will.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to agree with everybody actually down the board on, we have declining enrollment and the classroom sizes are shrinking, and unfortunately that's a nationwide trend. I do know that some of our schools are a little bit fuller, and I think I'm pretty sure I'm correct that after the census we're going to need to review boundaries, because some of that may need to change based on where our people have moved, and part of that is why Hale is probably still larger, is that people did move. So hopefully we can readjust that after the census.
Thank you. For this question, Jess Keys will start and Bill, you'll end. Are digital learning programs such as ALEX effective towards progressing student achievements? What direction do you look to take these types of programs into the future?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again, honey?
Are digital learning programs such as ALEX effective towards progressing student achievements? What direction do you look to take these types of programs in the future?
Well, a lot of the digital programs that are out there were a digital future. I mean, they're not going to go away anytime soon. It's just how we're going to apply those to the classrooms. A lot of the students, some students aren't really good maybe with just going on the computer and learning it. Some of them are good with having more of the teaching aspect. So with the ALEX programs, I really feel it's based on how the students learn. So that would be something teachers, I feel, should come together and say, hey, this is working for the students, or maybe it's not. And the students should be able to come together and speak with their teachers and say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's working for us, and this is what's not working for us. We're in the digital age, so we should continue to grow with programs, but we just need to make sure that it fits all of our students' learning styles. Thank you.
Could you repeat that question, please?
Are digital learning programs such as Alex effective towards progressing student achievements? What direction do you look to take these types of programs in the future?
I guess first off, I'd say as a board member, we don't really know if it's effective until we've implemented it. We're trusting our directors of curriculum to come with us with the best programs that they feel are going to fit the needs of our students. Because us at this table really don't know a lot about Alex or some of the other digital platforms that are out there, but we are trusting the people that we hire to make the right decisions for those. Be the best answer I could give you.
I'll agree with Jeff that we don't know and that we've just implemented Alex, and I know change is hard. None of us like change. We all hate change, and I know that some students are struggling with that. The idea of Alex is that it's going to teach you at your level so that everyone can learn the same lesson, and that it's going to teach you at your level. So if your reading level isn't as high as someone else, so hopefully that'll help implement that. And I don't know what the future is going to hold for that. It'll all depend on what comes forward in their curriculum adoptions.
You know, as our digital platform and where we're headed, I mean, I really hope to be a leader and be at the cutting edge and try to use this technology to our advantage. And with a program like Alex, it is designed to let the student learn at their pace, which is what is an idea in this district and what we want to have with some of the next gen learning and stuff like that. It gives the teacher the ability to work in smaller groups with the kids. So, you know, when it comes to the digital technology, I mean, I want to be a leader at the forefront. Everything is at the tips of our fingers right now. And if we use it correctly, you know, the sky is the limit.
Thank you.
If you could be a superhero, who would you be and why? Mr. Stikich, you'll start.
I guess it would depend on the part of the country that I live in. If I lived on one of the coasts, I'd want to be like Aquaman so that I could swim. If I live in a part of the country where there could be violence, I would like to be Superman so bullets could bounce off my chest. If I lived in a large city like New York, or maybe want to be Spider-Man so I wouldn't have to walk the streets, I could just swing from building to building. I guess if you could take like a little bit of all of them, come up with this superhero, a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, you'd have it all covered and you'd be really popular, and it wouldn't sell comic books for the other ones. You'd be taken over.
I would want to be Wonder Woman. I've always loved Wonder Woman. When I was little, my mom would always buy me the clothes, and I had the underoos and all that stuff. So I just always admired her and her strength, and she was always out to do good, and I would want to be Wonder Woman.
Mr. Ustra.
I would be Superman because my grandpa and my dad, I looked up to them quite a bit, and I always thought of them as Superman. So they remind me of Superman, so that's what I would want to be.
For me, I have always liked Wonder Woman, but recently I have become a major fan of Captain Marvel. So if you haven't seen that, I would definitely go and watch that, because that is the superhero that I want to be, that can save the entire human race at one shot. So that's the superhero I would be.
Thank you.
What is your current perception of the use of illegal substances on school premises? Is current policy adequate? This is in reference into vapes, marijuana, cigarettes, etc. We'll start with you, Ms. Heather.
I think when we revamped that last year, that the rubric system is pretty strict on that. I think if it's being enforced, then yes, it is sufficient for illegal use of any substance on school district property. That it should be taken care of.
I don't see any place for it. You know, illegal substances are illegal. Shouldn't be on school grounds. You know, I think we need to educate the kids on this vaping stuff. It's absolutely uncharted territories with the health risks that are associated with that. It's not something that's in place of smoking that's healthier. So I'm against all those things at school, on school property. I don't think there's any place for it.
I look at the illegal drug use as a lot of times a cry for help for students that are having these issues. I have a unique perspective as working in the schools, so I know that unfortunately those illegal substances are in the schools, and sometimes there's calls to the offices on a daily on what's going on with it. So maybe even identifying, and when those situations happen, get the kids the help that they need, and why are they doing this? There's always a background and a reason to why kids are using these substances. They are illegal, but we also know that kids are doing these things. They're bringing them into the schools. And anyone who's at the schools knows that, hey, that you know somebody there that things are happening. And the administration can only do so much. They can only get so many calls that say, hey, we have a smoke smell in the bathroom or things like that. So really looking into that and educating the students and the staff and the administrators more on that might help.
How the times have changed. When I was in high school, it was smoking in the bathroom that could get people in trouble or thrown out of school. Getting to the policies, I think the policies we have, as Heather said, if they are enforced, they are appropriate because they're pretty much no tolerance. But I'd much rather see us be proactive than reactive. More educational programs on the dangers of it, of the stuff that's proven to be bad for your body as a young person. Fixing the back end is great, but we can stop them from using it. We don't have to worry about that part of it. So that's what I'd like to see us be a little bit more proactive.
How do you think we can create and deliver a well-rounded education for our students? Mr. Ustruck, you would start.
That's a good question. It's a tough question to answer for sure. You know, it's all about people. It's all about relationships. If you can build a relationship with these kids, you know, it makes it easier for you to get them to buy into what you're trying to do. Build a community, and it's easier to buy in. Have accountability, have ownership, it's easier to buy in. So I think that happens with good leadership and having the right leaders. And when I say leaders, that means teachers, administration, getting parents involved. That's always a tricky thing. But it takes a village, it takes a community to raise all of these kids, and I truly believe that. So.
Ms. Keys?
I look at a quality high school education as the entire experience. Not only do you want the students to be involved in the basics that they need to graduate, but you also want to help them to figure out what they want to do with their lives, because most people, even myself, when I was in high school, was unsure of where I wanted to go. Being able to, at those end of those 4 years, whether you decide to go off to college or you decide to do, a trade, or you just decide to go into the workforce, as long as all those skills that you're taking with you, you had an amazing experience, whether it's additionally with sports or like music or arts. That is a well-rounded quality education, and making sure that each student succeeds is what's going to help with that. So for us to be able to do that, we're going to have to go to the teachers, what's working, what's not working, go to the students and what's working and what's not working. Thank you.
Mr. Sikich?
I was actually going to say, because I'll finish, Jessica's, I would go to you students. What do you feel that you could be missing out on? What do they have in a different school district that we don't offer? Some of the some of the reasons we can't offer some things in surrounding districts is because of the fiscal matters. Obviously, different school districts have different per pupil costs. But I truly believe that in this city, we are giving our students the best opportunity to learn with the resources that we have available to us. Our leaders, our teachers, I think we're doing a good job on that.
Ms. Justum?
I would say that we're getting there. If you watch our last board meeting, Hoover did a presentation, and one of the students talked about how they want to be engineers, and we're already in our elementary schools talking about, what do you want to be when you grow up? And if you look at some of our schools, they're doing volunteer work and service work. So it's not just about what you're doing in the classroom. We have all these clubs, cooking club, and things like that. Sorry. And then making sure that their social, emotional well-being is being taken care of. It's not just about the classroom. We got to make sure that their minds are well too.
Thank you.
What are you looking forward to doing the most in West Allis this summer, Ms. Keys?
In the summertime, I do a lot of volunteer work in the summertime, well, all the time. I liked always helping out with the state fair, with the parking of the cars and stuff. You get to meet new people, parents, you know, the up and coming, who are the new groups that are coming in, whether it's like freshmen, whoever's coming in to like the high schools. That's huge thing. But my favorite is always state fair too. So after I'm done doing like a shift or something, you'll catch me over there quite a lot because I just love going to state fair. That's my favorite.
Well, I participate in senior softball, and I'll give you a little hint. Like, if you're having a down day, come out to Hale and watch the seniors play softball. You will laugh your head off. Guys that can't build over to get a ball or can't throw anymore, but we still think we're pretty good. Other than that, I am an everydayer and have been for about 30 years at the state fair. I grew up here. We went to the fair every day as a kid, and there's still a little kid in me because I still have to go to the fair every day. Great place to people watch. I like all the church, not the church picnics, the church festivals. Thank you very much. They're excellent. I'm a big fan of our West Allis a la carte on Greenfield Avenue. I volunteer my time there to work. It's a super, if you've never been there, it's a super time. And the forks and corks. That's about it.
I would say West Allis a la carte. And I'm really looking forward to the bench decorating that's going to be happening along Greenfield Avenue. I know several people who are painting benches, so I'm excited that people will be walking down at a la carte and see all those beautiful benches being painted. And of course, State Fair. I love State Fair. We do go just about every day too. So
I'm gonna chill quite a bit. I work a regular job, so summer is just, you know, another day. My kids play a lot of baseball, so I'm gonna watch a lot of baseball and try to relax a little bit at night. Enjoy the weather, hopefully, if we have weather. Hopefully, every couple Mondays throughout the summer, I'll be at school board meetings, working hard to try to make this place a better place to be. And State Fair, you know, I love to eat, so I go there and I eat. So that's what I love to do.
Thank you.
What program have you worked on over your term, and what are you most proud of? For the Challenger, what major innovative initiative do you plan to take on? Mr. Stickich.
That's easy. I've been on our district wellness committee, and one of our goals as a board is teacher retention, because since Act 10, teachers can kind of jump and go, get paid more money here, this district, they'll go and then jump there. We want to keep our good quality teachers here. And as a result of our health steering committee meeting, we came up with our West Allis West Milwaukee School District Wellness Clinic in the old administration building on 9333 West Lincoln. Any person that works in our district 50% or more can go there for free. You can get your meds for free. There's no copay. It's a great benefit to young people that have young family and young kids, and we've heard a lot of positives on it. The first 2 years now has surpassed our expectations and our prognostications on how many people we need to have to get in it to have it stay viable, and it's way off the charts. It's been super.
I would say when I was on the finance committee, we were in a big hole my first year, and I was shocked at what we had to endure that first year. So the second year I was on the board, I was on the finance committee, and being able to get a better look at that and get a handle on our spending and making sure that we were being fiscally responsible and approving budgets that were not in the negative but were in the positive, and having excess funds at the end of the year within our schools was just a huge accomplishment for us.
On the recreation committee, growing up in this city and the time that I grew up in, the recreation was a big influence on my life and the people that went through the rec department. So I'm really excited to see the building that's going to be happening, and what an asset that is going to be for the community and for the people in that neighborhood, especially to be able to go there and maybe get in some workouts and learn maybe about how to live a healthy lifestyle. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a wonderful asset. And I'm also on the career and college readiness, and I really believe career and college ready. I believe in it. It's not college, it's career and college. So I'm excited to see where we go with that.
So coming in as a challenger, I know that for the board, I'm not going to be able to make decisions on my own, but things that I would love to see that we could work together with to make better is definitely rebuild trust with the community. When the referendum came out, definitely taxpayers felt deceived. They didn't really understand what it was the needs were, so maybe being able to be more open and transparent with everything that's going on in our community, in the schools, and saying these are our needs, what we need, whether it's new buildings, whether it's new floors, whether it's new curriculum, all of these things we really need to be transparent, because we're not going to be able to go to the community and ask for anything if we're not giving them the answers that they need. We can't just say, hey, I need $120 million, and they're going to say, yay, let's do that. That's just not how the community works. We really need to be more transparent and rebuild that trust over things that have happened over the years.
Thank you.
What was the best thing before sliced bread? Ms. Justin?
What was the best thing before sliced bread? Never really liked bread, so that's a hard one. I really don't eat a lot of bread. Best thing before sliced. Trying to think of some great thing I had when I was a kid, but I don't really know that there was anything that was like brand new in this. I'm gonna have to pass on that one. I don't know. That one threw me for a loop.
Mr. Ustruck?
You stumped me.
I'm just going to say, growing up in West Allis for myself, I've had a great childhood. I'm proud to bring my kids and my family and raise them here. That wasn't before sliced bread, but I don't really know what year sliced bread happened, so it's since the beginning of time. So just being a part of this community and coming back and really trying to make it better. So,
Ms. Keys?
Well, see, the only thing I thought about was food, so what went into my head was, steak. Wasn't that meat and everything? That's the best thing since, before sliced bread. So I'm going to go the carnivore way and say steak.
Mr. Sikich?
I have several, but I'm a little different era than these folks up here. I think remote control for TV is great. Like when I was your age, I had to get up out of the chair and walk over and turn the channel. Believe it or not, in a car, you had to crank up a window. You couldn't just push a button. And a color TV. There was one color TV in our whole family, and we went to that uncle's house because we thought he was our rich uncle. We could watch the Packers in color and the grass was green. It was so cool. We had an extra TV in my house that was black and white, and we offered to give it to our granddaughter. Well, she wanted nothing at all. There's no color. Like, well, this is how I grew up watching TV, black and white. Running home after school and there'd be a test pattern on it. And then you'd wait for Howdy Doody and Captain Kangaroo. So anyway, I know that wasn't one, but there are several things that have improved life since sliced bread.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
How do you plan to change the students' negative perceptions of special needs students across the district, and have prior attempts been successful? Mr. Ustruck, you're going to be starting this question.
Can you repeat one more
Sure.
time, please?
How do you plan to change students' negative perceptions of special education students, and have prior attempts been successful?
You know, when you say negative perception of special ed students, I'm not really understanding what you mean by negative perception.
I believe this question is trying to address the culture and language surrounding special needs students within the district.
Well, I think, you know, just like anything, it's educating people and being inclusive and being accepting and being open. Just having common courtesy and respect. You know, it feels like we're getting away from some of those characteristics in this society because we don't have the face-to-face interaction that we once had when had to be held accountable. We can stand behind a computer or a phone and type in things from a distance.
I look at it as that's something you have to start teaching children young. So even starting into the schools, you have to start young, teaching them about special needs, how to treat and how to talk, and what's the language and what's appropriate and how to do it. One of my favorite programs is the Irving Swim program. I feel that is working, and a lot of times that's pairing students with a special needs person. And it's amazing what I've seen that do just help the student as well as the whole group. I mean, it helps them to grow. It helps them to have a different outlook. And anyone that I've talked to who's gone through the Irving Swim program, they've really enjoyed it. They like coming back, and some of the alumni come back and still participate with that.
Mr. Sikich?
I think a big part of that has to start at home. Students need to be taught a little bit about empathy, and that we are all people. We are different, but we all have our unique characteristics that make us part of this great human race, especially in the city of West Allis. Schools can do some, but if you go home and you're coming from a different environment where that's not promoted, we're kind of banging our heads against the wall. And I think in some cases, some people have a hint of fear in them because they don't really understand what that individual is going through. And I agree with Jess with the Irving program. My wife ran that for a long time, and my daughter was real big in that over there. And the relationship that those students build with that special need, that's tremendous. That is a super learning tool right there. And if more kids had that opportunity, maybe it'd be more inclusive and less exclusion.
Ms. Justin?
I would like to see the Best Buddies program that the high schools do spread across the district. It's pairing special needs kids with a regular education child, and they do activities together and things. And like Central had a campaign last year, and I'm pretty sure it was a nationwide campaign for Best Buddies. Spread the word to end the word. And we all know that you say that word to your friend, and oh, you're so whatever. You're not insulting someone with special needs, but you say it. But if you were a special needs person, you have to think how they feel. I think part of our having the full inclusions in the classrooms where the special ed kids are not separated any longer, that they're in the classrooms with the kids and aides and things has really helped to improve that. But we still have a long ways to go, and they're absolutely right, all three of them, that we need to get more involved and have the parents get involved so that if it's not carried out at home, it's not going to carry over into school.
Thank you so much.
What is your position on open enrollment? Ms. Keys?
My position on open enrollment, I know that a lot of times that's something that helps the district. Open enrollment, that's the whole point of like our third Friday count. So every student is counted, and a lot of times funding comes in from that. So open enrollment, as if we have seats available and looking at what everyone is saying, declining in enrollment, that might be something that we would need to look into further.
Can I ask you to clarify that? Are you talking about statewide open enrollment or the open enrollment we used to have in our district where you could pick your school?
I believe district.
The district?
Yes.
No, I'm a believer in the boundaries, that community people are going where their schools are. That has helped the PTA out because you don't have people from different part of towns attending a different school and can't get back for the evening activities. Over the years, kids will be walking to school with their neighbors instead of being dropped off or bused. And just in case somebody out there thought it was the state open enrollment, I like what we're doing now. In the past, our district used that as a cash cow, and they would continually take students in, even if we didn't have seats for them, and then we'd open up another section and hire staff for it. Now we see what we need, and if we say, oh, we got 5 open seats here at Central, we will take 5 open enrollment from the different districts from the state. So we're not overextending ourselves and getting us in some fiscal irresponsibility as we had in the past by looking at that as a moneymaker when it's really not.
Like Jeff, I guess I'll answer both ways to make sure I get both perspectives answered. Open enrollment in the district within, I like the neighborhood schools. I know that there is some tweaks that need to be made, and I know that there's a lot of, there's some tension because now we're starting to identify our schools, and schools are getting their own identity and having STEAM schools and things like that. So somewhere down the road, we might have a period of time where we have some sort of open enrollment for students who want to learn that way, but that's probably several years off. And then the open enrollment, like Jeff said, statewide, we used to just keep bringing them in, and over the last 3 years, we've really cut that down. And a lot of times now, we don't even get whatever our open seats are, we don't even fill those open seats now. So I think we're going in the right direction, and we made some very good decisions.
Open enrollment in the district, I am not for. I ran on neighborhood schools, and I believe that having that sense of neighborhood pride and community translates into the school and translates into the staff and translates into the kids and in the neighborhood. And so we're in the beginning stages of building that back, but I feel that momentum happening. Now, if we go to we are going to this, the STEAM schools like they were talking about and stuff like that, and where the school's gonna, specialize potentially and pick what they want to do. I'm for some type of open enrollment that is strict, communicated properly. It's incentive based. It's maybe some type of reward. Okay, it's not just going to be handed and given. It should be something that is earned. There should be some strict criteria to be able to do that. And bringing in students from outside the district, I think at some point in the direction that we're going, we want to do that.
Thank you.
Do you think neighborhood schools promote equal opportunity across the district? If not, what would you do to improve that? Mr. Sickett, you can start.
I do believe that there are all the opportunities. Every school might not have the same club as another school. Those schools base their needs on what their students need. And I don't think anybody knows, nobody at the Hill or on the board knows what's good for Wilson School or Hale, Central, or West Milwaukee, or any of those, except the people in that building and in that community. So they kind of carve and mold what they want that building to be out of what the kids in that school need.
I would agree with Jeff. I think that we're trying very hard to offer equal opportunities, and I know that some people feel that we aren't. And I know that there are people who want their kids to learn this type of environment, or whatever the specialty school may be. And that's why I hope down the road we can continue to open up those opportunities to other students who may have a special interest in that, and maybe offer some type of, like Bill said, very stringent open enrollment.
I guess I kind of foresaw that question coming, and I answered it with my last answer. But, you know, if we go to this specialized school and there's an open enrollment opportunity, it's got to be some kind of, like a strict guidelines, you know? I'm at a loss for words right now. Well, repeat the rest of the question, I'm sorry.
Do you think neighborhood schools promote equal opportunity?
Oh, the equal, okay, sorry. You know, equal opportunity, it depends on what that means exactly, equal opportunity. I mean, if there's like a STEAM school and a STEM school with this open enrollment, I do believe that there should be the guidelines. So I believe there's going to be equal opportunity if given, yes.
Right now, I know that there is some debate amongst families of wanting their kids to do next gen or do one of the STEAM schools. That's one of the concerns that I think the board would need to take a look at, because it's right now not fair across the board with the different, if you have specialized schools. So we need to figure out, and I'm in agreement with Bill on maybe making those schools type of an incentive in order to open enroll or get into those kind of schools from within the district. It should definitely be incentive based if we're only going to have a couple schools and not make that universal across the board.
Thank you.
Ms. Justin, you're going to start this one. Do you support the reduction in AP Biology and AP Chemistry from 2 hours to 1 hour?
I will say that the teachers agreed that there was more time than needed for those. I know that the students are probably going to suffer because they're not going to have as much study time. So I'm a little on the board with that. My daughters both took AP classes, and they utilized all that time. So I guess we went with what the staff and the district felt was best. But I would agree that I'm assuming the students are probably not the happiest about it.
You know, I'm going to kind of just piggyback what Heather said is part of being on the school board and part of doing this is I don't believe I'm an expert in this field. I believe we have the people in charge and the committees and the staff that put a heck of a lot of work into determining what they want to go into the curriculum. And so, you know, when it comes to situations like that, I'm going to defer to the best judgment of the professionals and the people that we hire to put in that position to make those decisions. And I'm gonna side with what the data says they should do.
For the AP classes, I would definitely side with the teachers on that. If they feel they only needed an hour for that particular class study, I mean, we put them in those places for a reason. My concern would be is if the teachers aren't feeling that way, was it only a handful of people that made this decision to get it across, or was this something that was, you know, universal across the board? Because I do know that there are many students, and even my son included over the years, that you're bringing home tons and tons of homework, and sometimes being able to utilize that extra classroom time and work with your teacher one-on-one is key. So if that's what they feel, I would definitely, you know, go on that, but I'm kind of concerned that's not exactly how it went.
I think by the question, there might be like a little misconception. We as board members can't do anything individually. The whole board would have, or a majority of the board would have to look at those decisions. We're not like an alderman where if your garbage doesn't get picked up, you can call your alderman and he calls the DPW and they come down and empty out your trash for you. We get a complaint, we direct it to, if it's about AP, that would go to our curriculum person. If it's about an athletic thing, it would go to our ADs. So there's a channel of communication. We listen to concerns, but we really can't change it. And as Bill said, our job is to listen to the hired professionals who are giving us their expert, best thought out and discussed. Because anything that we vote on as a board comes out of a committee where they have hashed this over. We don't just hear about it and then vote on it. It's studied in committee. So I would trust the people that we hire to do that for us.
Thank you.
What are you going to do about the expectation gap across school levels?
I'm just going to push the administration to push the envelope and to get, I believe they're going in the right direction. There's a lot of thought and, it's amazing what goes into, these tests and what makes up the school district and how they're judged and compared to other school districts. So, I think we have Dr. Lexman's leadership and Deidre and putting us in the right direction. I think the staff is engaged because they have ownership in what they're trying to do. It's not a top-down, hey, here we're doing this because we say we're doing this. And Jeff just said committee, and there's a lot of work behind this. And I believe in Dr. Lexman and his leadership and where we're going.
I believe in this area, we need to let the teachers have more of a voice across the board with this, coming together and sitting down and talking about, what's going on in the classrooms, what their expectations are, what they're given in order to give to the students and say, hey, this is what I need to teach you, this is what you need to learn this whole entire time that you're in school until you graduate. We really need to lean more, I feel, on the teachers and not just a set group of 5 to 6 individuals that say, hey, here's a set of questions I'm going to put out on a survey, and these are what we want answered. But really, what is it truly that the teachers are wanting, and what is it that the students are wanting, and what are their expectations, too, for how they're going to be able to get through all of their school career. Thank you.
The first 3 years that Dr. Lexman was our superintendent, I happened to be the board president. And I was so impressed with his leadership when a problem would come up and his answer was, well, let's get some administrators, teachers, and let's hash this out and solve it. Whereas some previous administrators in our district would have just made the decision solely themselves. It was a little different time and a little different bureaucracy then, but right now the teachers have a nice, excuse me, a nice strong voice. And I am certainly hoping, I can't guarantee this, but I'm hoping that they are getting their ideas on what they need from you students, telling them we should have this or we should have that, and then they bring it to the committee meeting, it's discussed with administrators, and brought to us for okay for approval. And that's the way we fix things.
Well, they all took all my answers, but I would, literally, it's true. We set a lofty goal, and when we started our strategic plan, and we knew it was going to be tough to get people to that plateau, and it's a lot of hard work, and we have these committees in place now, and I think they're working, at least that's what we're hearing, that they're working, and that they're communicating with each other, and they're going across the district. Horseman goes to Mitchell, and they talk and what's working and what's not. So I think that if they continue to communicate across the district, they'll help each other to help their students, and then we can all get better together.
Thank you.
What are you going to do to increase student preparedness for AP and honors courses across the district? Ms. Keys, you'll be starting this question.
Well, biggest thing with AP and honors courses is being able to have that time with your teacher, being able to have the resources that you need in order to succeed. So I know that there are a lot of teachers that already have in place like study halls and different study times and days that they do for the students, extra online resources that are given to them. However, if you as a students are feeling you're not being prepared for those enough, you're not getting that support you need, I feel that's a voice that needs to be heard, so those that can be looked at and that we can reevaluate and say, hey, what more do you need in order to succeed at this? Thank you.
Mr. Sikich?
That's another one of those questions where I personally can do nothing about it. The school board can, if it's brought to us as a critical need, which would have to come again through that chain of command. Your students talk to teachers, teachers talk to administrators, administrators talk to Deidre, our curriculum and learning person, and then it comes to us and we need this for our students. Then we would be able to act. And as individual members, not much we can do.
Ms. Justin?
I would like to hear from the students on this, because if you guys aren't feeling prepared, I'm hoping that you guys can communicate that to your teachers, to your principals, to even us. And not that we can do anything personally, but if we don't know that you guys are not feeling prepared, we can't do anything about it. We would bring it to a committee, and we'd want that committee to really focus on how we can do that. So I would hope that if people are feeling unprepared, that they do reach out to us and let us know that you do need help and that this isn't sufficient in what we're doing.
Mr. Oostruck?
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit, and there's some student accountability in that as well, to feel that if you are not feeling prepared, I mean, some of it is on you as the student as well. So, I'm all for AP and I'm all for student success and I'm all for the student and the kids. So whatever we need to do as far as getting them prepared, resources, and if we have the resources, it'll be brought into a committee, and moving forward, we want to give the students every resource possible.
Thank you so much.
What is one thing you would change in schools to increase order? We'll start with you, Mr. Sikich.
To increase order,
Yes.
discipline, or
For instance, during lunch periods, many students would just walk around the halls, or if a teacher would try to discipline them, they would curse them out. What would you do to improve the situation?
I don't know if I could say it here. Boy, I don't know, that's a hard one, because no matter what you try to do, if somebody doesn't have that self-discipline to know right from wrong, kind of a long, hard time in school. School's about getting along and accepting people. I don't know honestly you can have as many rules as you want, but if they're not enforced, there are rules now that they can't walk around during lunch, correct?
Yes.
So that's really not helping. I don't know what the next step would be. They should want to be treated like adults and be responsible. How is the hard part about it. Really don't have an answer.
Mrs. Justin?
Well, I will agree with Jeff that if there's rules in place and we have these rules in place and they're not being enforced, I guess we need to know about that. People need to let us know that that's happening. I would hope that the administration can help get a rein in on that. I know that at Central in the past, they would have teachers and hall walker staff. So I guess maybe increase that staff if the children aren't staying in the classrooms or in the lunchroom where they need to be. And maybe even increase the lunchroom staff if the students are being disrespectful during lunch.
I will use the example that we saw at the board meeting the other night, and this is a grade school example, but Hoover did a great job. Your example about a lunchroom and, talking about the high school, but at the grade school, they were having a very loud lunchroom, and what they did was they turned it into a restaurant, and they gave kids jobs and made it something that they had ownership in, and it changed the environment of the lunchroom. Now, can we do that at the high school level right now? I doubt it. High school kids are kind of set in their ways. But if we can take those examples at the elementary school and build upon those and get that rooted early on and that sense of community and have that grow as they get into high school, the idea that they'll have that accountability in high school and they won't want to upset the other members of their community because they have accountability. So I believe in it, and it starts younger and it's moving its way up. It's hard to do it in high school right now, but we're working on it. But if you get people feeling and having ownership, it'll happen.
Well, I look at this one, I know that kids walking the hall is an issue. It's not just during the lunchtime. I believe the accountability comes at the administration. There are so many times where the students are brought into the office area and then nothing is done about that, or the consequences for those students for not doing what they're supposed to, whether it is swearing at a teacher, running off, not participating in, just even going to class. Those are huge issues that are going on. And I don't want us to be blind to those as a community. I think that's where that accountability and the more visibility of what's going on. Let's not hide that these things are going on. Let's be real and say there is this happening, there is swearing happening. Students that don't want to be in a classroom, maybe we look at an alternative school for them. Instead of every single day they're just doing those loops around the halls and nothing happens because it just seems like everyone's given up. We don't want that to happen. So let's make our administrators, because our teachers want it to happen too.
Thank you.
When was the last time you were at a district high school during normal hours, and what were your impressions, Ms. Justin?
I was actually in Central High School today. I actually am in the high schools quite often. Actually, I drive school bus, so I get into the schools quite often. I pop in whenever I can if I have time between my routes. Or, of course, there is always some respectful things going on, and there is some things that aren't. You're going to see those kids who are struggling and having issues and being disrespectful, and you're also going to see those kids who are, excuse me, thank you, please. I know that we have a lot of work to do, and that we need to keep striving to make our kids accountable for their behavior, and that our administration is making sure that they're taking care of what needs to be taken care of at our schools.
So I work during the day usually, so it's difficult for me to get into the high schools or any schools during working hours. But I do have quite a few close friends on high school faculties here at both high schools. So I get really the inside information. And high school's scary, It's a scary, scary place. And some of the things I hear, I'm just amazed. And being on the school board, some of the things I see is amazing to me. So I know kind of what goes on in the schools, in the high schools. Even though I haven't been in there, I hear it. And it's a tough time to grow up in these times. So I hope that we're providing the social, emotional, mental help, anything that we can possibly bring to the equation for the students, especially at the high school level, is we need to do.
High school is very different at night after school hours than during school hours. A lot of times when you get to go to events after school hours, everybody's pumped, this is really neat. You get to see a side of the school that you don't normally get to see when it's all blended together during the day. During the day, at any time, you can have emotional breakdowns that are happening. An entire guidance office is full of students needing help. The stresses of the day, breakups that happen between students, fights that are going on. These things can, it varies from day to day. You can have the whole office filled, or it could be a day where, oh, thank heavens, everything seems to be, going okay. It's just one of those things that going into the school, if the policies and the handbooks and everything are consistently enforced, it's going to be a lot better. But yeah, on a daily basis, there's a lot going on in this high school.
Being a former West Allis teacher, I know people in almost every building. I shouldn't say almost. I know people in every building in the city. So I hear lots of stories from elementary, middle school to high school. And the teachers I talk to will talk to me. They know that I don't run and spread that to the board. I just keep it in my head, so if something happens again, I may bring it up and say, you know, this has been going on for a while. We might want to look at this or that. Physically be in the school, the two high schools I get in maybe once a month. I have friends that I used to play ball with years ago, and I really like to show off the Athletic Hall of Fames at both high schools. Central has a tremendous one. Hales is kind of still on their crawling stage, but they'll walk someday. And it's just really neat because those are things people don't hear about, positives. They hear about the negatives, and so I wanted to get them in and share some positives.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Do we get to time you now?
Oh, yeah.
Where's the bell?
Yeah. My question is, what would you do to improve ACT and other standardized testing scores across the district? We'll start with Mr. Eustruck.
Oh, God, that ACT test. Oh, my God. These tests are just... you know, we do a lot of good stuff with the pre-test, and we spend a lot of time on it. You know, we spend quite a bit of time on it. I think, you know, the things that we're pushing for in the curriculums that are, you know, we're adopting, and Alex and math. I mean, that's a big one. Math has always been a struggle. So we're looking at Alex, and the data's telling us that this is going to help us work with kids at a slower pace that need to be worked with at a slower pace. So those are the types of things that the administrators and the faculty are telling us that they need and that they need to have. And we're seeing some things increase, slowly, small, but it's increasing. So that's what we want to see. And hopefully in the next couple of years we see it even more. And I think we will.
There's a lot of, actually, ACT, the testing, it just seems like there's a lot of resources in the school, in the district. So ACT, they have the practice tests, they have the ACT, and, you know, for the only thing that comes into play is maybe helping with the emotional and the stress levels for a lot of the students that are, hey, I need to have this in order to get into this college. So that's really tough. So if you have a particular students that are wanting to get to that level, then there might need to be additional resources in order to get them there, and then help them to deal with the stress of what's going to happen once they open that up and they're like, oh my gosh, I just needed one more point in order to get there. Normally when you retake it, you bump up at least 2 points of it. If you do more, sometimes they look at that. So we just need to look at across the district for those students that need that extra bump and to get into those colleges they want.
I mean, to increase the scores in those standardized tests, first off, you have to take all the data and look at what area are we not performing well in, and then you got to kind of do like reverse engineering and go back and say, all right, now what can we do to move this from here to there, because that's where we want them to be. And that's all data driven, studying that and where the efficiencies are.
Again, they stole all my answers. However, I do think that with our standardized testing and ACT, that going in the smaller groups, having more people available to do a small group testing, I think can really be productive to kids. And I wish or hope that we could get more people on, maybe even have extra hired help just during those specific testing times. I know financially and fiscally that might not be possible, but that would be something I'd really like to see happen, is the smaller groups for testing so that students aren't so packed in a room full of 40, 50 kids taking a test.
If you could be any kind of sandwich, what would you be and why?
Sandwich.
Ms. Keys, we'll start with you.
Okay, so my favorite sandwich actually is at Cousin Sub. It would be like a chicken breast with some bacon on it, mayo, olives, onions, just that's my ultimate sandwich right there. That's a go-to.
Buffalo chicken toasted on rye or whole wheat bread at Subway, and then all the salad on top of that. Because that convinces me I am eating healthy, because there's salad on it.
I don't really do bread, but I would do a Reuben roll where you wrap the wonton with a thinly sliced corned beef with sauerkraut and Swiss cheese with a Thousand Island on the side. That is my ultimate favorite.
I would be a golden gyro. I'm a little salty. I'm really filling. I have a little odor at times. All right, and I probably make you want to drink a lot of water. So I'd be a gyro.
Thank you.
All right, my question is, what do you think of the district's flaws in communication between students, parents, teachers, etc.? Ms. Skitch, we'll start with you.
What do I think about, well, how did you phrase that?
What do you think are the district's flaws in communication? Flaws. Well, I guess it comes down to the fact that nothing's perfect. Everybody wants to be communicated a different way. I personally am not a media guy. Give me something I can see, fold up and put in my pocket. So we just have to make sure that we can meet and provide the type of communication that everybody wants to get. Because you hear people say, well, I didn't hear about this. And then maybe the district says, well, we did this, but if you're not on that, it really doesn't make a difference because you didn't get the information. So I guess you have to do a little study of what parents, students, teachers, what kind of communication they want to receive. My wife happens to be a coach in the district. When I was coaching in the district, you'd give the kids a flyer. Now you text them.
I would agree with Jeff that everybody wants to be communicated with differently, but I think we should flood you with communication personally, whether it be with paper, online, emails, all that stuff. But sometimes I think that our flaw is that we're vague in our communication and we leave it open to interpretation. So how I'm going to read it versus how Jeff's going to read it is going to be totally different. So we need to make sure that whoever's reading it understands what our point is or what our message is. So I would say that's one of our flaws, is sometimes we aren't very, this is what we mean. We kind of are a little more vague in our description, and people are like, but I read it this way. So I would say we need to make sure that everyone who's reading it gets the same message.
I think that we need to establish like a social media platform for the district. An individual be able to touch every student, Instagram, Twitter, whatever we can use, because it's not going away. And if we can have our administration or our principals or our teachers able to reach out via, Skype, Twitter, Instagram message, Snapchat, to each individual student, I think it would impact them in a profound way, hopefully in a good way. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to look at in doing something like that, but I want to be cutting edge in this. I think video, technology, social media platform, I want to bomb it and do it all and get it going. And I want to use the kids and their ideas to bring it about, because you guys know more than a 44-year-old guy of what's happening out there and how to use this stuff and how to reach people. So
I think we need to reevaluate the communication process as being a parent in the district over the years too. Sometimes I get those robocalls and I click and I don't want to listen to it because I know that it might just be an attendance thing. When your kids are involved with the events, whether it's drama, sports, anything that's going on in school, extracurricular, you're getting, they just really need to, I'm sorry, I just like totally like blink for a second there, forgive me on that. The communication, it's too much. I'm getting always, they're not exempt from class. You're getting the phone calls every single day. Hey, they're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this. So you're getting attendance calls. So you don't want to listen to the robocalls. So maybe putting a platform that says email, text, however, this is how I want to receive my attendance calls, but this is what I want to see, what's important from the school. And that could be text or email, however you want to do it, separating those out.
Thank you.
What do you propose about the issue of declining enrollment, Ms. Justin?
Well, really, there's not much we can do about declining enrollment. Like we had discussed earlier, is people are having less children or not having children at all. That might mean that maybe we are operating too many schools. So we might have to reevaluate that and look at that. I guess we would need to become that district again too, that destination district that we used to be, where people always wanted to come here. They wanted to move their kids and families here. When I was a kid, everyone was like, oh, cool, you live in West Allis? They have some cool stuff, and everybody wanted to be here. And we have an unfortunate stigma about us, and I know that we're really trying hard to change that. And the city's doing an awesome job with all their campaigns, which is just going to build on the whole, because if the city's good, the district's good, we can all work together, and it'll help draw families here.
Yeah, this is a very difficult question and problem that we're going to face for sure in the next 5 years of what we're going to do. Are we, I mean, our buildings are old, they're falling apart, we're losing kids, we're landlocked, we don't have $500,000 million subdivisions being built, we never will. You know, our average home income, I'm guessing, is probably $100,000, maybe, or not income, maybe under $70,000, maybe. I don't know what the number is. So, what do we do? Is this, do we downsize? It's going to be a community issue. It's going to be, everybody's going to have to be involved. But it's a real question, and we need real answers. We asked, with our buildings being so old, and are we ever going to be able to build a new one? It's going to be, it's a really tough question.
I guess the question is, what are we going to do to make ourselves desirable for outsiders to come and live in West Allis, have their families here, go to schools here? And West Allis is already doing a lot. The city of West Allis is doing those things. Like, here we go. We have, this is our new signage. These are what we're doing. We have different businesses that are coming in. But what are we doing as a school district? You're correct. Like, to make sure that we're desirable to all of that. We can get businesses in here. We can do all that kind of stuff. But if we're not, making our school district desirable for outside people to come in and raise their families and do that, that's something we need to look at and see what we can do to also revamp and kind of go with the flow. Maybe work with the city and see what we can do to make it better.
Well, the easy answer to that is just tell people to start having babies. The other part of that is doable is I think we need to take a closer look at the open enrollment students in West Allis that are open enrolling out. Why are they not coming to our schools? Now, we did get a report from Jeff that maybe only about 40% of those actually ever went to school or never went to school here. So they've always been outside. But I think we've got to get in touch with those families, like in the neighborhood schools, get the principals to find the people in their school district area, send out when the PTA is having something, send out when there's a Christmas concert, get the people into the building to see what the building is like and the environment. And then you might get those people that say, hey, why am I sending my kid to Whitefish Bay when they can be going across the street to a great school? That's the doable part.
Thank you.
Let's do that. What are your plans to better our district's image? Mr. Ustruck?
Well, I'm all about what's happening right now in West Allis. I think the mayor is doing a fantastic job with the rebranding of the city, and I'm a big proponent of West Allis, and it really upsets me incredibly when I hear the negative stereotypes of people of this community. So I'm, whatever I can do. I'm out there coaching teams. I'm out there, I'm all for West Allis, and I love this place. Born and raised here. I'm staying here forever. So, if I'm going to be here forever, I'm going to try to make it the best place possible. So, I don't have any specific plans, but I love what's happening around here. This city is really feels like this momentum and this vibe in this city is really kind of going in a good direction. So I want that to continue.
Ms. Keys?
I know that I personally can't do it alone. The big thing about any kind of change, it has to be coming together. It can't just be one person. We have to all have that same unified look on the changes and what needs to happen in our city, in our schools. So in that regards, definitely, I'm that kind of person that I roll up my sleeves and I get to work. I know that, but I also need others to come along and do the same thing. So when we work together, we're going to be unstoppable.
Mr. Sikich?
One small part that I think we're really missing and probably are never going to get back is a community newspaper. When we had the old West Allis Star, there were things in there about the high schools, the high school sports, the positives coming out of our district. Excuse me. All you hear are the negatives from the district. There are great things here going on in schools every day in our district, but it's not publicized. How we get that out there, I mean, you can call the media, the TV stations, all that till you're blue in the face, but unless they get out there, it's useless. But even the now, when it was a West Allis now, when we shared it with West Milwaukee and Greenfield. I mean, now there's like 6 communities, and you're lucky if you see the word West Allis in that. I think I was able to read that today, whole now section about West Allis in almost under a minute, because there's nothing in there. And again, I want to, like Bill said, the rebranding of the district has been tremendous. And I think it's up to everybody in this room and everybody that lives in this community to tell people what a great place it is.
Ms. Justum?
I agree with everything they said. I think that we need to do some kind of campaigning around what's happening in our schools. And if you watch some of the board meetings, some of our youngest kids are coming forth with these videos of what they're doing in the classrooms, or they come to the board meeting and they do a demonstration with us. And if we can find a way to get that out there to the public so they see what's happening in our schools, I think that'll help with some of that negative stigma. Again, I'm a 4th generation West Allis resident. I'm not going anywhere. I own my house right up the street. I'm not going anywhere. So I am gonna hoorah for West Allis forever. So I'm just gonna keep telling people the great stuff going on here.
Thank you all.
What is more important, privacy or safety in schools across the district? Ms. Keys?
What do you mean by that, by the privacy or safety?
Let's say there is maybe questionable information on somebody's phone at school, and would the school just not look at it because that's the privacy of the student, because it's on their phone? Or they take action to save or like help a student in need or anything?
Okay. Well, because of being in the school, I do know that anything that is on a phone, there are the student policies and procedures in the handbook in place. And I have seen firsthand that whether your phone is private or not, if it's doing something to harm another student or to harm yourself, they definitely take that seriously. They look into those. So if it comes down to safety, it's definitely something that the school should be involved with. If it comes down to you just have something private on your phone that you don't want to share, unless there's there's a reason behind it. So that's where I'm kind of going. If there's a reason behind it, then that's going to jeopardize something. Your phone is your phone, the reason you have it, as long as you're utilizing it properly, you're following the rules with it, nobody should be going through anybody else's phone.
Are we talking about a phone issue or a safety issue? Because if it's a safety issue, I'm about the safety first, because I don't want any nutcase coming in and shooting kids.
Yeah.
That is absolutely, has to be protected. Students have to be protected against that. If it's the phone, students probably aren't going to like me, but I don't think phones belong in schools. So that would take care of that. And as Barney Fife would say, nip it in the bud.
I would have to go with safety also. I understand that you have your privacy and you want your privacy, but if it's going to endanger yourself or someone else, safety's always got to come number one. Always.
Yeah, that's safety. I mean, you're talking about like threats on a phone or something, and you know, somebody tells a teacher that Jimmy's got bomb threat on his phone, or you know, safety. The kids are our responsibility, and getting to school, being safe all day, and getting home, back home, is number one priority. So if you know, if it's hearsay or if it's, you know, if rumors, I know, God, those things spread like wildfire, and then you end up getting the phone, you know, if somebody sees the phone and nothing's on there. I'd rather have that happen than something worse. So it's a delicate situation, privacy, phones, technology. We're private, but we're not, right? Everybody knows everything about everybody. Okay, so safety in my eyes is first and foremost.
Thank you.
Would you support the creation of specialty schools in the district? Mr. Sikich, you'll start.
Absolutely. Because as we've talked through the evening, different schools and different kids are interested in different things. The problem that I see with that is getting the kids in a school and not overcrowding it. And then if they don't get in, we don't have that STEM or NXGL school over here for them to go to. Why do they lose out? How would you get in there? The hows and whys, my answer is definitely less, yes. But you have to look at the how and the why could we do it. You certainly don't want every school doing STEM, because then it's not specialty anymore. But how do you crush that bridge to who can go there? I think that's the question.
I'm torn on this one. I do think that the schools that are specialty schools right now are doing a great job at it, and their test scores are proving that what they're doing is working. But on the other hand, I see where, as a parent or as a student, if that's what you want to do and you can't get in, that can be an issue too. So I think we have to tread on light water here and kind of really look at this. If we're going to say you have to go to your home school, what if you have no interest in STEAM and you can't learn that way? How are we going to help that child? How are we going to teach that student in a way that they will learn and will succeed? So I'm a little torn on it. I will support it because it's what we're doing. However, I think that there's still some work that needs to be done to ratify that so that everybody gets the education they deserve.
I think the idea and the concept is, it's a little outside the box. I mean, I like the idea of like the high-tech high and having these schools feed into just a robust amount of programming for the students, with getting to traditional math and English and history and all those types of things. But I want to be able to offer these students the chance to find their passion and really what they want to do. And how we find, how we do that, I go back to ownership and community and having the schools and the community surrounding the school make those decisions and take ownership of it. And, that whole concept of doing that, I think, is a great start to doing these specialty schools. But, I just see it as just a really interesting concept.
I like the idea of specialty schools. However, when we look at the district as a whole, how would this fit in our community? How is this going to work across the board for every one? Because it could be that you have just a community that just all wants next-gen learning. So how do you, say, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have enough room here to do this? That's why before, when it was talked about like incentives to get into that school, if you're performing at a certain level, if your scores exceed at something, maybe you're looking at something like that. But that's definitely something a district can look at. Or maybe we need to start doing have special programs like they do at the high school. Like if you don't not part of like the engineering program like at Central, but somebody from Hale, they actually split their time. There are a lot of students that will split their time between the specialties between the schools. So maybe starting slow like that and working your way up to something, bigger where it's a whole thing is the route to go.
Thank you.
Okay, so this one's going to start off with you, Miss Justin. Who was or is the most influential person in your educational career?
I'm going to say my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Murray. And I'm sure that name rings a bell with people because she taught in the district for a long, long time. And I was very sad that we didn't live in Lincoln's district when my daughter started kindergarten, because Mrs. Murray was that teacher that knew every student, and it didn't matter how old I got. Whenever I went to visit her, she knew my name. And she would say, "How are you, Heather Viss?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm Heather Justin now." And she's like, "That's okay, you'll always be Heather Viss." But she was just one of those people that always lit up the room. She knew every student. She made sure that everybody could learn. And even in kindergarten, when we had playtime, she always found an educational value to what we were doing. If you're playing house or you're playing store, well, how do you count your money? So even back then. But yeah, my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Murray.
My fifth grade teacher, Mr. Jurek, General Mitchell. And in fifth grade, we went to sixth grade at the elementary schools then. And I really liked the sixth grade girls. I really liked the sixth grade girls. I didn't like school, loved sports. And so recess in school, I spent most of my day writing in notebooks and thinking about the sixth grade girls or thinking about basketball plays. And so Mr. Jurek, he called my dad in and he told my dad, he sat him down and he said, Bill's a great kid and I love him, but he's just obsessed with girls and sports and he doesn't, schools, I don't know what's going on. And so my dad sat a couple times in class and I had to come up with the dreaded assignment notebook. But back then it wasn't assignment notebooks, that wasn't, no one had that. So I had to every day write in my assignment notebook and get on task, and it changed a lot of stuff for me. So he provided some structure with my father that I carry to this day.
So for me, I had a little bit of a different kind of background growing up, a little bit rougher. And one of my favorite teachers was when Horace Mann was in middle school, was Mr. Albrecht. Not only was he a great influence to me, his sarcastic personality and jokes were amazing. And I got to know his family and everything very well. They helped me through a lot of difficult times. Teachers sometimes are underestimated on what their influence are, and I will tell you, his thing was, anything that I help you with, all I want you to do is pay it forward. So I'm sitting here today to pay it forward.
That was the easiest question that was asked of me this evening. Mr. Kenneth Thiele, sixth grade teacher at Johnson School, and for those of you that are of the younger era, Johnson School is on 84th and Beloit. It is now a Lutheran church or whatever, but that's
I
where
went there too.
He was tremendous. Now, there's some funny things I remember of him. He always wore the baggiest pants possible. He wore the same brown wingtip shoes every day to school. But the thing that we liked as kids is when you came in on Monday morning, he'd have 2 different pictures from the old Saturday Evening Post hanging up in his room, one on each side of the bulletin, of the chalkboard. By Friday at noon, you had to write a story about one of those 2. And how that stimulated my creativity. I couldn't wait for Monday morning to see what the pictures were. There would be times I'd write a story about both pictures because they were both so cool I couldn't pick one. But without a doubt, and sad to say recently he just passed away.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes tonight. Thank you all for coming.
Doesn't conclude tonight yet. You guys are still allotted 1-minute closing statements, and we'll start with you, Mr. Oostruck.
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me here. You guys came up with some fantastic questions. I hope I answered them. I answered them the best I could. My brain only froze once, so I'm pretty happy about that. 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago, I ran as a write-in, and I didn't get it. And the next year I did. And 4 years ago when I ran, this place was crazy. It was in chaos. People were at each other's throats with this boundaries and who's doing what, and it was just a nightmare. And so one of the things I wanted to do was just try to make a change about common sense, and a change for what's right for our community and our schools. And I believe that was that neighborhood school. And 3 years, 4 years later, I don't hear, I don't see, I don't feel that negativity. Now we're on to creating. We're trying to give our kids programs that are going to help them be the most successful and give back to the community and be functioning society members. So I would love to continue that another 3 years. So vote for me. Thanks.
Again, thank you this evening for the questions. Some of them it just made me smile, and some of them were very thought-provoking, and I even thought of more stuff like afterwards. The big thing for me is in this district, I've been involved with so many things in this district. I can't even say volunteer wise, from elementary school all the way up through the high schools, through athletics, involved in different kinds of things with this school. And I will tell you, I would say anybody who knows me from the schools that I've helped and participated in knows that I have a heart for the students in this district. And my heart definitely, it's on my sleeve. I will fight for the students 1,000%. I will fight for the teachers, whatever it is they need. So if you're looking for someone who really is going to be a voice for the teachers and for the students, vote for me.
I bring a little different perspective to the board than anyone that's presently on it. I do not have any kids or grandkids that go to school in this district. I am a retired teacher of this district, so that gives me a little different perspective. Truly understand what it means to be inside a school all day long. I understand the challenges and the opportunities our teachers face every day. And I have to tell you, you guys have to be so proud of yourself. Because sitting here, I am extremely proud of all of you. You are a product of why we are on the board and why we are doing this. And you have represented yourself just in an amazing way. The way you speak and ask the questions, very confident. You guys should be applauded. And everybody else should vote for me.
I, like Bill, 4 years ago ran as a write-in at the last minute, and I was very concerned because at that time I was on PTA council and I was attending board meetings, had been for about 2 years, and I was getting more and more nervous about what I was seeing and hearing. And then I was voted in 3 years ago, and I got a reality check as to what it really meant to be on the school board. And it was part of what I thought it was, but it was a lot of learning curve, and I'm still learning today. And we made a little bit of an incline, but we still have a long ways to go, and there's a lot of things that we're working on and need to work on. And we need to be accountable to all of our stakeholders, our students, our parents, our community. I am a homeowner in this district. I've lived here my entire life. I'm not going anywhere. And like I said, both of my girls are in school to become educators. And I want to make sure that they have good districts like West Allis to go to when they graduate. So I hope you vote for me.
Okay, now that concludes tonight. Thank you all for coming. We worked really hard on this, so we really appreciate you coming out to hear our questions and answer them.
I would just like to add in, thank you for all of the community members that are in attendance. This will be rebroadcast on the city's channel, and it will be uploaded to the YouTube channel for the city. So if you have anybody that wants to see it, they can rewatch it and vote April 2nd. Everybody have a good night.